but it's
all right.
soon Christmas, you know.
It is soon Christmas. I
Start
know.
to eat, so I eat a lot.
Eat for me as well.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
For years, I'd wanted to make a film with Salvador Dalí. I was told this is an impossible dream and you can forget all about it, he won't do it. So I did forget about it. And suddenly, in the summer of 1965, I got a phone call at home from Captain Peter Moore. He told me he was the head of military intelligence for Salvador Dalí's court, and that I could come to the Hotel Maurice in Paris and at least meet him.
During the war, I was in the British Army in an outfit called psychological warfare, concerned with propaganda and softening the, you might say, the mind of the enemy. Making him feel that they've lost a war. So whenever Dali, sort of, for any reason or other, needs me, he always says, bring in psychological warfare.
We walked along a thickly carpeted corridor until we reached Dalí's suite. The door swung open, and there he sat, the divine Dali himself, in a high-backed, throne-like chair, his moustaches waxed imperiously, reaching skywards like antennae. I was impressed. This tale of two cities began in New York in 1965, when I became the only living director to actually complete a film with the great surrealist Salvador Dalí. I'm now in Stockholm, working with the Museum of Modern Art on an investigation into Dalí's startling legacy to the wider world and his influence on my own life and work.
You say that the poor people are happiest when they have no freedom and they are repressed. Now, now listen, if poor people are happier when repressed, does your work help them to become more repressed or to become more free, your painting?
No, more contracted. More contracted, tight. My cell board the same one prison, because can the people start obsessed by Dalí, becoming completely the same in one Dalinian prison.
It's 9:25, and I'm waiting for somebody from the Dalinian prison to take me on the next stage of my journey.
Well, Catherine Lundqvist, it was you that invited me to Stockholm.
I'm so happy about that. That I really invited you and that I got to learn to know you as well. Because the film Dali in New York that I choose to show as the first one in the series of screenings that we made during this exhibition is an amazing film. I really love it a lot.
I can only think he saw me as an innocent, a blank canvas that came to him with no opinions about art.
Yes.
And actually no opinions about him, other than a desire to work with him because he was so magnetic.
Yes.
But what it did, this invitation of yours, is set me off on a course of personal investigation.
Yeah.
To try to discover, because I've since come to realize that as a filmmaker, I am very surreal in my own work. And to try to find out actually what was the depth of his influence upon me.
Yeah, and Have you come to any conclusions? Or is this film maybe about that in a way?
I did see surrealism then as the juxtaposition of unlikely images and fractured narrative. I felt that fractured narrative came to me very easily, but I think that that happened after working with Dali.
He influenced you with his surrealism, what he really wanted to do with his art. I mean, in a way, I also find him didactic in a way, because sometimes you can see him talk about surrealism in a way that he really wants people to get into this kind of art and to start thinking and acting and doing other things than we usually do, you know.
1, 2, 3, allez-y.
Yeah.
I think he's more powerful now than he was when he was alive.
He wanted life, you know. He wanted life to become more than life, in a way.
Larger than life.
Larger than life, yeah.
You leave home and you don't go back.
Today, we seem to be suffused with surrealism in all branches of filmmaking, commercials, music videos, that it really has spread throughout the culture as a form of expression. And this is due to the movement.
One of the reasons why Dalí liked film so much, it was the possibility of superimpose pictures on each other, because with his paranoiac critical method, that was really about getting in contact with the subconscious imagery in ourselves and combining that what we see around us today, you know, or the so-called real world. Dalí loved film, he loved the cinema. He was amazed by cinema from the very start. He loved the brothers Marx, of course, and he knew them also. He got in contact with them.
He became friendly with Harpo.
Yes, he did, yes. And he gave him an extraordinary gift. Because he came to meet him, and then he sent him for a Christmas gift a harp. Yes, but the strings were made of, I don't know what you call this in English, but this...
strings of barbed wire.
Yeah.
I bet he'd be amused if he could be watching us now.
Definitely, I
Look
think so.
at him in that little red car.
He's smiling in his heaven now, you know.
Whizzing around the streets.
We're still talking about
And what
him.
are they doing? They're talking about me.
Yes. That's true.
God bless him.
But you know, he also worked together with Hitchcock.
I requested Dali. Selznick, the producer, had the impression that I wanted Dali for the publicity value. Yeah. That wasn't it at all. What I was after was, again, the thing we talked about earlier, the vividness of dreams. As you know, all Dali's work is very solid and very sharp, with very long perspectives and black shadows. Actually, I wanted the dream sequences to be shot on the back lot, not in the studio at all. I wanted them shot in the bright sunshine, so the cameraman would be forced to what we call stop down and get a very hard image. This was, again, the avoidance of the cliche. All dreams in movies are blurred. It isn't true. Dali was the best man for me to do the dreams, because that's what dreams should be.
In our collection, we have already Ancien Dalí, and we have L'Âge d'Or, and he made these films together with Louise Buñuel.
Yeah.
And Ancien Dalí, of course, it was necessary to have that in the program, because, I mean, it was the first surrealist film ever made.
I'm 20 years old in the moment of make this movie. Already the prophecy of the up R, because they start the movie cutting one A, you know, one black razor, and today the up R consists of creating the maximum of violent disturbance in the human area.
When I questioned him about his politics, I was quite shocked. He thought Franco was the brightest politician alive in the world at that time. It was quite alarming. And he told me a little anecdote that if you take a needle, you take a songbird, like a budgerigar, or what do you call them, a little singing bird, and you pluck its eyes out with a needle and put it back in its cage, the sightless bird sings more beautifully than a sighted bird. Now, did he mean this?
Or did he say it to provoke
Or
you,
did he say it to provoke?
Yeah.
I've never been sure about that.
What do you think? What is your gut feeling?
I don't think he was a cruel man, particularly, though some others have said he was cruel.
Yeah.
Others have said he was heartless. Others have said he was mean in the extreme. Others have said that anybody that ever worked with him inevitably became corrupted.
After a circuitous drive, we finally reached the Dalinian prison, now sited in a former high-security military base.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! I follow you.
So crowded, so many people.
Fantastic sight.
Yesterday there were 6,000 in the museum, maybe more today, I don't know. Yeah.
I never saw anything like it, not even in New York.
Italian police are looking for 5 Italian Americans charged with association to commit crime. The 5 are all reputed to be members of the Sicilian Mafia.
Okay, now take it back, hold it to the... Let's just pull it in diagonally so you won't block the street, and we'll just have to unload across the sidewalk.
When you're captured by the magic of Dali, why, it's pretty hard to back out. I mean, once you get bitten by the Dali bug.
¡Qué nombre! ¡Qué nombre! Tanto precioso. Camino, señor Dalí.
This spectacular Baroque wall is the work of the young Italian artist Francesco Vezzoli, who shares this space with Dali, being strongly influenced by his use of celebrity culture and the mass media.
Gemini 6 is closing in on Gemini 7 for their historic rendezvous in space. They are estimated now to be less than 100 miles apart. Gemini 6 is closing in on 7 at a rate estimated by the computers on the ground to be about 2 feet per second. It is 15 miles below Gemini 7. They are in contact with each other by radio. They are talking to each other. That is, the 2 astronauts in 7 are talking to those in 6 and vice versa.
From ABC Space Headquarters, we now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
These little people is astronauts coming, but it's like the people look only this section. And now the camera coming back to me and discovers the dramatic and anguishing face of my dead brother. Because myself I am one artist sometimes, but in reality is not interested at all in painting and literature. I am interested exclusively in cybernetics and quantum physics and biology. Je suis fou du chocolat l'envers.
Look a bit more that way, Jack. Just the angle of your face, not your eyes to camera. That's good.
Like that?
Yep, here we go.
Dali suddenly popped the question.
What kind of a film did I have in mind, he asked. Well, I'd rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed exactly what I was going to say to him, down to my interest in the dream world, my profound affection for his work, but suddenly it all went wrong, and I don't know why. I just blurted it out. Dali, I said, my film will almost certainly destroy the comfortable universe you inhabit. That is an outrage, he said. I intend to bring a weightless, flying camera, I said, that can penetrate all of your dreams. No, he said, I don't want that. I want a massive, heaviest camera that can be found in Hollywood, and I want it bolted to the floor. No, I said, I don't want the bolted camera approach. You can shoot with your weightless flying camera if I can have 5 swans exploding in slow motion, spilling their entrails all over the screen. Sounds good, I said. I like that. The swans will be followed by 2,000 priests on bicycles. Or I said, look, I have no affection for priests in any shape or form, and I certainly don't want to be dealing with 2,000 priests on bicycles. All right, he said. If you supply me with a 7-foot plaster cast of Michelangelo's statue of David. Done, I said. The film was on.
Catch now, no. Is necessary catch now this, no me. No. This. Voila. This. Now no move. Now it's vertical. Yeah. Now you put in complete horizontal position and bring in procession.
What the hell did they put this out here for?
One moment. Now.
Michelangelo and Dali.
When he tries to paint what is religious, in the true sense of what is religious, he makes a mistake. Because he has no conception of that. He would like to. He's like somebody chained to a dead animal that wants to fly. He does not know anything about the exaltation of the spirit. He does not know any, and never can know anything like that.
The exhibition design seeks to create a dramatic setting along the lines of Dali's own Paranoiac critical method. According to Dali, this method involves entering a delirious state in which the unconscious dream world can appear in harmony with the surrounding waking world. Objects, people and events have no straightforward meaning, but time and space merge and undergo remarkable metamorphoses.
Come. Yeah, maybe time is melting, he says. Maybe time is melting somehow, you know. You cannot really hold time here. And his eyes has also melted, and then it becomes green in his face because eyes have melted as well. Wow. You cannot see his eyes here, you know. They are not there anymore. We know that Dalí was very interested in dreams as such because he was so fascinated by Freud.
The last relationship between two human beings is the relationship of Freud and Dalí.
And all the surrealists were fascinated by Freud. They had all read his the Book of Dreams. Yeah. And we know that also that Dalí met with Freud in London. And of course, in his surrealistic paintings, dreams and the subconsciousness of our minds are very essential. So somehow, in a way, this might be partly dream, partly reality, or the mix between them.
in connection with the Dali exhibition will be screened in the movie theater on the second floor. Tickets can be purchased at the cashiers on the second and fourth floor. Welcome down.
Excuse me, I'd just like to know what you think of Salvador Dalí.
Incredible. I've seen him in exhibitions in Spain before. I've only just arrived at this one, so what I've seen so far is amazing, and to be able to see it so up close as well. But I'm a little skeptical about the explanations of what's going on. I think probably Dalí was making fun of a lot of people when he made these paintings.
I'm surprised that he used so many methods for painting and film, and he was a good writer too. And I'm surprised at that.
All round, brilliant.
Yes.
A genius.
He is a genius, yes. Some kind of genius. And his irony, he had humor, a lot of humor, and I appreciate that.
It's about flying, the people flying from the Earth, and we will leave our planet. And the future is there.
The future is there?
Yeah.
The first cherries look real in my life is 2 months before I am born, inside of the uterus, intrauterine dream of my mother, because Sigmund Freud tells me the pressure of my hands in my pupils create phosphorescent cherries. And for this reason, Dalí paint all time cherries, 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 cherries. And this, in scientific language, the name is phosphen, means the residues of retinian hallucination, the mostly provoke in the moment of you press very strong your eyes. Just of the moment of appear phosphorescent concentric circles represented later by fright, X, floating and moving in the space, the one cosmic vision.
Excuse me interrupting, sir. I'd just like to ask you what you think about Salvador Dalí.
Oh, I really like him. Yes. Yeah.
Does it have any effect upon you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
What kind of effect?
Well, I don't need to smoke so much grass.
Of course, Dalí didn't have to take drugs because he invented the Paranoiac critical method. And this is seeing the images that the people are now taking drugs to see. He saw in 1930.
He's drunk all the time.
He's drunk all the time.
Apparently in this one he was making fun of Lenin.
It seems like it, but also it's got something to do with William Tell. I'm having trouble putting that together.
It's not easy to connect.
No, it's not. No, absolutely not. No, and that was the point, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the quotation at the end that when he came to Sweden here and he was interviewed on Swedish television about this very painting, he apparently said, well, I hope that's clear, but if it's not clear, give me a call later and I'll try to make it more obscure for you. I think that's a great comment. It's the kind of thing Bob Dylan might have said in an interview as well. I think their minds are very much alike.
I like him as an artist, even though that perhaps some of his paintings has been reproduced a little bit too much, so they get a bit boring, I suppose. But
you feel they've been cheapened because of that?
Well, some of his more famous paintings, and that's why I think that an exhibition like this is rather interesting, because then you see things that are not so reproduced.
Excuse me, miss, I don't want to interrupt you. Would you mind telling us what you think of Salvador Dalí?
No, you can ask this man here. What do you think of Salvador Dalí?
Oh, I don't know, I haven't got a clue, eh? Right? Isn't it?
Whatever.
We should never forget that Salvador Dalí was a rogue who liked to tease the establishment. He was a court jester and court painter in equal parts, who could deliver unpleasant truths, not least about the high pretensions of art, from behind the mask of the clown artist.
You must, goddammit. Listen, I told you I wanted the rights, Marie.
I'm crazy about money.
If there's any problem about anybody not being on a list and not having it either on a list or a card, invitation, Mr. Horn will be upstairs. He knows everybody, and just get hold of him right away.
Yes, everyone. Right. No, the Spanish flag is a little bit larger than the American flag.
Well, it was designed for me by Salvador Dalí, and it's made of the green peridots and diamonds. And Dalí says that they are, everything comes from the sky. The water comes from the sky, and that comes to the fountain, from the fountain to little springs and rivulets, into the green sea, and then back again to the sky.
I find myself in a secret garden, a lost little garden at the back of the Museum of Modern Art in Stockholm. It was created by Pablo Picasso in 1962, and he called it Déjeuner sous l'herbe. And coming here, I've come across her. Isn't she beautiful? And you know, she reminds me of a question I asked Salvador Dalí, and I asked him, when did you first become aware that you had a truly unique perception of the universe? That's easy, he said. I was out for a walk with my auntie, a very beautiful woman, and as we strolled along, she suddenly wished to urinate. So hoisting her skirts high and spreading her legs wide, she proceeded to piss with the force of a cart horse. The amber liquid struck the ground with such force that it exploded upwards in myriad droplets, each one suffused with backlit sun, and each one carrying the divine secrets of the universe. As he told me this story, I became intensely jealous, for nothing like that had ever happened to me. But of course, I still live in hope.
For my stay in Stockholm, I've made my base on this beautiful old steamship, the SS Orion.
Me abrazas, García Lorca. You asked me, and there's very little confusion. The Dr. Colin intervened.
Mr. Dali, in 1965, now, do you think that man has any more understanding of his irrational self, chaos, fragmented dream world, than he had, say, 30 years ago?
No.
Cheers.
Cheers to Salvador, to the work you did with him.
Ah, absolutely.
You are a part of the memory, you know, because you was one of the few directors who have access to Salvador Dalí. You are somebody. You know, who was so involved in an happening with Salvador Dalí doing the film you did in 1965. Dalí was genetically Spanish, intellectually French, aesthetically Italian, and an American businessman, of course. He loved the dollar and the green paper, not the money he doesn't love the dollar for the quantity, but for the quality and the symbol of the US dollar, you know.
You see, I've had this thing that whenever I walk down a street, not all the time, of course, he's not in my brain all the time, that he will, I'll find him walking around a corner. I still can't believe he's gone.
We got the DNA of Dalí. So for the future, we never know what could happen, you know.
George Orwell said he's a magnificent artist and a disgusting human being, I read recently. Orwell fought with the artist's rifles against Franco's divisions.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So he actually went to war, like Laurie Lee and a lot of... Cecil Day Lewis, who was the English poet laureate.
But what do you think about Franco, for example?
Franco, believe, is perhaps the only intelligent man today in politics.
But he hasn't solved the acute problem of poverty in Spain, for example.
But myself like it.
You like it?
Yes, because like the Inquisition and poverty. It's necessary for only the people is happy and is completely compressed by Inquisition. So you like it one nightingale song very well, the first you take out the edges with one needle and you put in one prison is the best.
I couldn't work out how his closest friend is murdered by this regime and how he can appear to be aligned with it.
Because it's not a banal life. No, it has some, it's theatrical. You are dead and you are killed publicly. I mean, it's a theatrical death. This is why he says bravo, and it's the best death for a Spanish. It's what he says. It's what he wrote.
That's all.
It's the best thing that can happen to a Spanish person, to die that way. It's better than to die as he did with this tube in his nose in his bed. He envied the kind of death that Lorca had because of the show. It was a show. That's why he says bravo. What did he say? Ole.
No, I would say that he was probably a coward.
You think he was a coward?
Physically, for that stuff, probably. Intellectually, absolutely not. He was not a coward. But physically, probably. Dali was not an aficionado of Franco. He used to say, well, I'm living in Spain with Franco, but the frontier is really close. And remember that during the war, in the Civil War, he was in France, you know, he wasn't in Spain, helping the Republican or helping the Frankists. So I think he was apolitic, you know. Well, he wanted to be in peace, so he have to deal with the regime, but he's a monarchist.
He seemed to have a superhuman, of course it declined, this superhuman strength. But when I knew him first, it could blitz a town. It could set everything alight. It could set the street alight.
While I'm playing the role of the valet, can you...
Exactly, everybody's my slave.
Yes, no, everybody's not your
Everyone...
No.
Put the look out. Out! The people don't like it becoming my slave, no more. Put the look
Can I have another role besides...
All right, I will finish.
Dali,
No. Everybody's my slave. This gentleman is very good. Everything
was a slave, he was a maker.
Everybody's my slave.
I mean, nobody is allowed a role other than a slave. Nobody can say that in 1965.
Everybody's my slave.
He didn't talk to ordinary people. Like, he got in a cab and he sort of let you know where he's going, and then he didn't want to have anything to do with me. You know what I mean? And then when we got out, I said, hey, you didn't pay me. And he kept walking. See? Yeah. And he walked over to the doorman, and he said something to him, and the doorman came over and paid me. He wouldn't, like, even talk to me, you know? That's the type of guy he is.
Oh, he was awful with this woman. He said to this woman, you are my slave. It's in that movie?
It's in that movie.
He is horrible.
I mean, this incident that we just had shows his fantastic dependence. I mean, dependence on another person acting out his fantasies.
It was obvious that he was so disgusting as a human being to say to this woman, you are my slave, or get out.
That's right.
That's awful.
That's absolutely right.
So it's why this made me distinguish the man from the work.
Okay. I mean...
Because I don't see that in the work.
He threatened to walk out for good that night.
He's terribly conservative, really. I mean, even his sort of entourage, the circus around him, the sort of they look like props that are pretty tired now. You know, there's no real magic in the act.
Like suffering admirers of sweet wiles and wombs, petrified statues and monolithic tombs, plus countless tears and smiles of Magdalena, Mary, Ruth.
That night more rang me. He said, no matter what Dali said, he will be back working with you in the morning. And so, right, and Jane Arden walked in. But he walked up to her and he did make peace. He looked to me and he pointed at her and he said, this gentleman is much improved since knowing Dali.
Not this gentleman already becoming more intelligent than before. Only touching Dali, improve.
And she says, am I a gentleman? I don't think I'm a gentleman.
Tell me, why have I changed sex?
My sex?
Why have I changed sex? Why have I changed? Why am I a gentleman?
Ah, no, lady.
As an agent provocateur, for sure he was provoking the people to check if they were ready to work with him.
It was a test.
Yeah, of course.
And then the two girls at the end, they're sitting in bed and they're reading the reviews of the exhibition.
Oh, yes.
And they do a demolition job on his reputation.
His public personality has been so offensive as to be blinding, and his hijinks were so childish as to suggest his own doubts.
My personality is 1,000 times much more important than my painting.
His pictures, often so vulgar as to confirm ours as well, none of it matters. Dali can no longer be questioned. He's one of the most extraordinary painters who ever lived, and surely one of the handful who will survive our century as he is.
Never. He'll never survive the century.
The moment you're anti-Dali or anti-irrational, they think you're against any exploration of the unconscious, and that you're the rationalist. He used to stand very much on the psychoanalytical platform. He doesn't at all now. Psychoanalysis died at the meeting of Dali and Freud. He killed it. But against them sets a meticulously traditional female figure. What is a meticulously traditional
Someone
female?
on a pedestal that you knock down later.
Immediately after they demolish him and say his reputation will not even survive the century we're in, I cut straight to him on that stage with a big blank piece of paper, 6 foot by 4 foot, I think, and on comes Manitas de Plata. Troubadours, the singers, and Manitas play with fantastic energy and crescendo to force them to get out of the chair to draw on this piece of paper. And he waits until their energy has risen to a sufficiently high level to make him draw a bit more. And it goes on, and then he stops again, and they play some more. And finally, the horse is standing there. Today is the last chance to visit Dali's exhibition, which closes this evening. It's been their most successful show since Picasso over 20 years ago. John Peter Nielsen, was he a genius? He was, or he was not?
I think he was a genius in the sense that he gave up his life to become Dalí. That is taking lots of guts, you know, like...
That's a huge risk. You're playing with your life itself.
Yeah. So, I mean, that question that we tried to, you know, search for an answer, was there another Dalí behind the mask? No, I don't think so. I think he became the person he wanted to be. And that, I think, is quite remarkable. It's like that. What does it say to all of us? Well, life is so fantastic. You can take it in your hands and you can mold it
exactly
whatever way you want.
I remember him saying to me, "I love every single second of my life. Yeah. Every single second of my life is erotic."
Yeah.
I enjoy tremendously every single moment of my life because the dead all time is very close, watch me. And the dead like it catch me. And every 5 minutes, the dead no catch me, I enjoy tremendously. Catch a little piece of fishy water, you send me a little tea or something. Everything becoming one tremendous pleasure.
Fantastic. Yeah. But to live it on that level, on that precipice, where if you fall,
there's no one
to save you.
No, it's like... but I think this is also very, very interesting in a little bit of an ironic way, because it's like Dalí hated modern art. He wrote this incredible book, you know, like, you know, and he made his fun about Jackson Pollock, and we have this video he shot together with Philip Halsman from the late 50s, Chaos and Creation, where he makes fun out of Mondrian.
It's possible becoming one real sublime creation. Chaos and creation.
Where we saw an eye, the paranoid critical method of Dali saw a mouth. We see now a drawing by Piet Niet, Mondrian, but Dali sees a pigsty. These are Pennsylvania pigs. The New Jersey pigs are not inoculated and are forbidden to enter the New York state. And this is Miss Leslie Crane. This is not her usual address. And this is a slightly debauched motorcycle.
It's a very 500 motorcycle.
There is a great affinity between corn and television. Look how the TV camera attracts corn. It explodes. How true to life.
And he says the only modern artist I like is Picasso, you know, like. But if you think about Dalí's ideas about how you can take your life in your own hands and you can create it the way that you want, this is a very modern idea. I think there is a gap between the actual, you know, piece of art or piece of work of art and the author, you know. And I was thinking many times, it's like, when I go and see a Jack Nicholson movie, it's like, do I see Jack Nicholson or do I see the who is playing? You know, is it the model, you know, or is it the real figure?
I think it may be the real figure in the same sense as Dalí.
Exactly.
I can't think of another Nicholson behind the Nicholson.
No.
No.
I mean, it's like a, and I think this is also very, how do you say it today? It's like maybe not tragic, but it's a little bit of a sad, it's a difficult thing for many people to deal with. I can't be myself. I mean, you're trapped in the, you know, look at all the rock stars, you know, like, and especially today, the young girls, 16, 17 years old, you know, like thrown out on the global scene, you know, like eaten up by the image of themselves.
What does it take in the human personality or the being to defend against this kind of consumption of the self?
I think that you have to be a very strong.
Very strong?
Very strong human being.
Dalí suffered 2 times prison. Tell me about the first time the people put him in prison, and my spiritual life started tremendously good. And I enjoy every single moment of my life in the prison.
Time has caught up to Dalí that today is like you don't only write a book, you have to promote it as well, you know, like, and where is the difference between, you know, and this is also why, parenthesis, you know, I invited Francesco Bisoli.
Yes?
We need the ballerina.
Can you have the ballet come out?
I mean, he's been, you know, making perfume, but the scent doesn't exist. He does trailers for films that doesn't exist, but only the trailers, etc., etc. One of many things that I must say that I can say that I admire Dalí for was that he was an independent soul. You know, he loved money, but he never used money, you know, in the bank vaults, you know, like, or he loved to be in the...
Well, he loved money to grease the wheels of everyday living,
yes.
more than anything else.
Yeah.
It was like a working class attitude,
yeah.
but with more money thrown
yeah.
about, that's all.
But there is
bigger rooms.
But there's this fantastic story about this portrait on Jack Warner that we have on display.
Yes, yes.
So he did some society portraits, Dalí, you know, to get some cash, you know, like, but Dalí never liked Jack Warner. And so he painted Jack Warner. If you look very carefully in that painting, the hands look like a dead man's hand. He's standing against the marble coffin, and the chapel that in the back is a chapel in which Michael Jackson will be buried in the Los Angeles cemetery.
Is that right?
Yeah, this is right. So Jack Warner saw this and he's, why? I mean, I don't want this painting. I don't want this. Now he depicted me on the cemetery of Los Angeles. It's like, but then one of his lawyers said to Jack Warner, well, Jack, it's better that you buy this portrait than anyone else is doing.
Yes, get hold of it.
Touch your nose and your nose becoming gold. Everything touch becoming gold. And this is the transmutation of material things in gold.
Dali is the ideal container of...
One second.
I'm crazy about money.
He was an independent soul, you know, like, and I think we need more of those.
You know, my first
society.
meeting with him.
Yeah. Your film is fantastic, by the way. It's like,
that's very kind of you to say so. But I had him, and he was like a bomb, you know, doing off.
He was one of those characters that refused to be controlled, but he was very narcissistic. He wanted to be in the center of attention all the time. We can laugh with Dalí,
but not at.
Not at.
This man was a huge influence upon me, and I never really understood it or acknowledged it, because I went on to make movies that were getting more and more surreal by the minute.
Got the time, have you?
Pardon?
Time. Funny thing, time. There are two ingredients to time. One is the notion of time as a logical space. The other is the notion of its being a logical space used by us to represent relations between events. But this just does not reflect the content of our concept of time. However, one might wish to hold that a full grasp of our concept of time involves grasping the possibility of using certain mathematical structures in representing the temporal aspect of things. Someone who fails to see this has failed to grasp something about the full concept of time. Shift 7, clear. Shift 7.
Dalí once wrote of himself, "Since my first childhood, I've had a vicious turn of mind that makes me consider myself different from the common run of mortals. When I look at the starry sky, I find it small. Either I am growing, or else the universe is shrinking. Unless both are happening at the same time."
you are a part of the memory, you know, because you was one of the few directors who have access to Salvador Dalí.
Have you come to any conclusions?
I think his influence on me was profound.
Jack? Jack? Can you stop there and let the bus pass? Jack?